Yeah.
Should we order Grab or like Foodpanda, to support the local F&B retailers, but it will incur disposables? Hi everyone, my name is Lin.
I'm Kay.
Today we're actually going to talk about whole BYO/COVID situation. Mr. Chan Chun-sing announced that people cannot dine in, but we should BYO.
Bring our own clean containers where possible to help our food establishments conserve their packaging materials and to be more environmentally sustainable.
Basically, there are two camps on the ground right now. There are hawkers that are still supporting BYO. There are certain malls who advise their tenants against bringing your own. They are taking precautionary measures. I think the primary concern would be perceived hygiene concerns and issues.
Cost of food may also have been increasing. The general consensus is that it might have to do with the fact that their supply chains are very heavily disrupted, as
well as F&B retailers are actually absorbing the cost of these takeaway containers. Yeah, but it's not just with that consideration in mind, but also supply chain.
Yeah.
Yes, and
if people are afraid of contamination, I guess the best way is to bring your own containers if they allow it, just because you don't know where the packaging has been, you don't know how clean the packaging is, and you don't know how you touch the packaging.
There is this tension between wanting to support our community versus going zero waste or reducing. Should we order Grab or support the F&B retailers, but it will incur disposables? In this case, it is up to our discernment as to how comfortable we are. Think about the travel, saving on so much carbon emissions by not flying. I would say sometimes, if we look across all our habits, we make adjustments accordingly. We don't have to feel so bad about, supporting, people like pros and cons.
Also important to realize that this is a very unprecedented situation. It's hard for anyone to know what is the right thing to do and what are the long-term impacts of this or that. Just leading a less or more sustainable lifestyle is also that it's just a consciousness. We're not creating waste in ways that we don't have to.
So what are our feelings on all the waste created by single-use surgical masks nowadays, as cloth masks don't provide the same level of protection? So when it comes to staying zero waste, right, I guess it is also about prioritizing. I know there's been various articles going on with regards to the effectiveness of reusable masks versus disposable one-off masks. But after a while, I think it is beyond the concern of what is the most effective sometimes, but also thinking about the bigger picture. Who needs to use the disposable mask first? Whether there is enough supply. Using a reusable masks, then just have to ensure that you sterilize it properly. It comes to our zero waste habits, because if you're still doing your grocery runs, you can bring your own bag. If you do takeaway, you go out for a walk, you just bring your own container. If our day-to-day habits at home don't really change, we're actually saving on a lot with regards to traveling. If we purchase only when we need, I think that's fine. E-commerce has surged due to increased grocery purchase online, so it's increased packaging usage. If there's anything that can be done with online grocer partners to find ways to reduce, they should be delivering in reusable bags and simply unload when reach outdoor. A lot of times it goes down to logistical concerns and issues, especially if their warehouses are not in the same place. They definitely need to look at their entire warehouse logistical supply chain to streamline some of these processes. That probably requires quite a huge commitment on their part. We would definitely love to push them as much as possible. It also boils down to whether the company wants to put in that kind of resources. If customers like us actually request for it, that is actually where the power of consumers like ourselves and yourselves come in. Sometimes they actually listen to consumers like yourselves more than they listen to us. When different people speak up through social media or through emailing or whatever it is, they can start to think about changing. Don't feel that your call out is in vain. Unfortunately, we have to be patient and we have to do it many, many times because some things just take time.
The reason I get when I encourage people to buy BYO for groceries is that they still need a steady supply of plastic bags for waste management, rubbish bins. What's your take on this? In Singapore, most people live in high-rise. High-rises is that you have to bag your trash and throw it away. And it's something that we should be doing. There are actually so many alternatives that we can use to bag our trash as we separate wet and dry trash. The wet trash that we throw away, and that can fit into a lot of packaging that you already have. More often than not, we collect more plastic bags at the rate that we utilize for trash. So
if you realize UK and Australia are charging for plastic bags, people still are buying plastic bags, their trash, right? We don't support a ban in plastic or plastic bags, but we support the charge of it. When you have to pay for something, you will not take that resource for granted.
There was a huge push last year with FairPrice to reduce plastic bags for fresh veg. Is it really not possible to go plasticless? Not all the types of plastic packaging for food is unnecessary. We import a huge percentage of our food as of now, which is up to 90%. There are certain types of packaging that will literally increase the shelf life of food. And if you ask me whether we want to save the food or whether we want to save that packaging, we definitely want to save the food. The carbon footprint of food is really way higher in terms of effort and amount of resources that go in. Using paper bags as delivery, we have to be very careful about paper bags. Depending on what kind of paper bags, recycled paper bags maybe not so bad, but we have to be very careful about supporting biodegradable alternatives as well as too much paper. A very ironic fact is that when plastic was invented, it was actually the environmentally friendlier solution to the overuse of paper disposable products in the past. So we have to be very careful about the type of alternatives that we support, because when it comes to life cycle, so means from the production point to the disposal point of that material, sometimes ironically plastic is actually has a lower carbon footprint. We should not go back to paper. I mean, if we do, it probably should be recycled, or we should be using materials that would have been thrown away, like certain leaves or whatever, or like bagasse, which is like the used sugarcane fibers. Spiky Gutro said that this is a very crucial time to make sure we rethink unsustainable systems. Yeah, definitely. Besides thinking about alternatives, we should also look at how we can streamline our current plastic systems, because a lot of biodegradable alternatives cannot be recycled, and so the loop cannot be closed if we want to talk about closing the loop on resources. So we have to be very careful about that.
From Sri Goody that says, I really hope that BYO can become a habitual action every time each person goes out to buy something. Definitely. Not only BYO, but to be mindful about it. So if you don't need the BYO, you can say, I just don't need the plastic bag because I can just hold it. And the question before that is to ask whether I need to even buy that thing in the first place.
Part of our Rethink series, as we will be #rethinking shopping. When it comes to shopping, being mindful about buying that extra thing that you don't need and things like that, it's actually maybe better than saving that 1 or 2 pieces of disposables. For example, we don't buy the extra bag, we can then do a Grab delivery to support our local F&B retailer. So it is about that balance there. If we need to buy new, we could take a longer time to consider, whether we actually need it, and also what kind of brands we want to support. Do we just want to support any brand? Or do you want to ask your favorite brand what is actually going on behind the scenes in the manufacturing supply chain? What are you doing, to improve people, planet Earth?
Making sure that the brands and the places that we buy from are places that we can, or that we have told them about how we feel, and that are also part of this conscious effort to change the way that they sell products, or the way that they rethink about their own products as well. So it's not just about consumerism or buying things, it's also just about making sure that we rethink systems and institutions and just the way that we see the world around us as well. So COVID has also made us realize a lot of things about our systems that need to change, or a lot of things about the way that we think that needs to change. So it's just a good way for us to do that.
We need to have a greater sense of urgency, and we need to achieve it. We are talking about rethinking our systems, right? So this is the new normal. If you guys, whatever you guys are doing right now, whatever position you are in, whether you are a housewife, house husband, whether you are an exec, whether you are, a professor, whatever it is, green your position, green your company, push your companies, your households to rethink kind of habits that they are doing, whether it is even sustainable.
Especially now that we have seen how things can be when we are pressed for time and pressed for action. Everything that we do and every action that happens actually affects all of us equally, and we're not, immune to what happens to other people.
Whatever we are facing through this pandemic is exactly like what will happen when climate change becomes more apparent. As through this pandemic, everybody has to play their part, socially responsible. I think we will wrap up here.
Please look out for more content on our pages. We are kind of trying some new stuff when it comes to our social media.